Over the years, I've realized the impact that job shaming can have on someone's life and image of themselves. And in this video, I wanted to talk specifically about job shaming in the South Asian community, because I think that it's not something that we talk about enough, and it's incredibly important. Growing up, I was always asked what kind of doctor I wanted to be. And if you're one of my subscribers, you'll hear this in several of my videos. And I think I talk about this a lot because that stage of my life where I was asked about career choices was really important and made a profound impact on my life. But because I was asked what kind of doctor I wanted to be instead of what do you want to be in a general context, I felt as if I didn't really have a choice. It was either doctor or lawyer. And it was because there was this standard that was set for me, and anything below that standard was considered shameful. So over the years, I started to develop this internal bias, thinking that anyone who wasn't in or pursuing careers in healthcare or law were just incapable or unintelligent, or worse, complacent and unambitious. Now that I think about it, I'm like, what was I thinking? It's funny that I say that though, because I ended up going down neither of those paths. I ended up becoming an engineer. And guess what? I was shamed for it. Now you might be thinking, well, doctor, lawyer, engineer is kind of in the trifecta of what South Asians kind of aspire to be, but in my family, we didn't really have too many engineers. The standard was doctor. First of all, I tried my ultimate best to do what everyone wanted me to do. But I realized in sophomore year of college, which was a terrible year, by the way, that I didn't want to study for another 10 years and take exams. Talk about having exam anxiety and doing that for the next 10 years. It did not sound good for me. And then on top of that, I just realized that medicine wasn't my thing. So I decided to continue on with engineering. And I remember that when I announced this to my family, I almost got a list of reasons why I shouldn't pursue engineering. I remember being told that engineering wasn't a stable or secure job, that I could get laid off easily, that the pay wouldn't be great, and so on and so forth. That I should reconsider my decision to study engineering and that I could always go to medical school if I wanted to, if I put my mind to it. And I didn't want to put my mind to it. I do want to mention that absolutely no job is secure and stable these days. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to think like that, honestly. And sure, being a physician might pay more, but after how many years of being in debt? Just my opinion. But regardless, as my family continued to try to convince me not to study engineering, they reminded me of another family member. A cousin who also studied biomedical engineering, but left it behind to pursue a career in makeup. Which is so cool, by the way. But regardless, they would say things like, don't be like her, or if you study engineering, you might lose your job just like her. But to be honest, I always looked up to her. I admired the way that she took her life into her own hands and decided to pursue something that she absolutely loved. And make it into a career regardless of what everyone else said. She seemed so happy, and I wanted to be happy just like her. But the amount of shame that she knowingly and or unknowingly received for pursuing a career in makeup was upsetting to me. Why was it so terrible? Was it because she wouldn't be making as much money as a doctor would? Or was it because there was just too much risk involved? I realized that as we grow up, job shaming kind of gets programmed into our brains. Your family and society stops doing the shaming and ridiculing, and you start doing it to yourself. Almost subconsciously. It turned into, why couldn't I be a doctor? Or why was I not smart enough? And every piece of negative feedback that I would receive from, say, a family member or a person from my community or even my boss would turn into an attack on my intelligence and worth as a human being. And after I realized this, after I realized that I was pursuing a career that was never meant for me in the first place, after I realized that all I was trying to do was just avoid the shame, after I realized that all I was trying to do was avoid disappointing others, and after I realized that I just wasn't happy, I had to leave. And once I left and made this video, others started reaching out to me with similar stories. I wanted to talk about this one story in particular. I won't mention names or any identifying information, just out of respect to her, but I find myself reflecting back to it time and time again. She's young, she's South Asian, she just graduated college with a very prestigious engineering degree, and right out of college, she landed a great job at a top company. And naturally, she was excited, she felt like she was on top of the world, she felt like she made it. But she told me that after several months, she started to struggle within the role. She told me that she wasn't able to grasp concepts as easily as her colleagues were able to, and began to get very frustrated with herself. Naturally, as many of us with similar backgrounds and upbringings do, we start to shame ourselves. She told me things like, "Was it me? Am I just not good enough? I'm afraid to be fired. I can't just quit. What am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? I can't move back in with my parents." And this was her biggest fear. Her biggest fear was how she would look in front of her family or her community if she left this well-known company that she worked so hard to get into. She was first ashamed of herself, but even more so, she was afraid to get shamed by her family and her community. What will everyone think? All of this was swirling around in her head while she was panicking, and I felt for her. I was once in her shoes, and sometimes I feel those feelings every now and then. We had a few phone calls where I was able to give her some advice and some encouragement, and she finally told me that she had quit and was looking for other opportunities. I was so proud of her. I can't tell you how proud of her I was for moving past the fear and the shame. The fact of the matter is that even though we as South Asians often get programmed to shame ourselves and others for not living up to this so-called standard, whatever standard your family might have for you, whether it's doctor, lawyer, or nursing, or maybe it's a family business, we need ways to unlearn this standard of what a job should look like and what success looks like to you. Because success can come in unlimited forms and shapes and sizes. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content, and I'll see you in the next one.